Mickey, spin it. We'll do that. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. Are you going to the SU game with me tomorrow or what?
Yeah, I'm overdue, man. It's been years.
Okay.
And I've been watching like tons of basketball highlights the last like few weeks. I don't know why, but just like in bed watching people like airball or like just game winners.
He
and
literally
stuff,
sent me like a 20-minute compilation of air balls in the cap. Wasn't it like air balls, but they keep getting progressively worse?
more embarrassing. Yeah, 100%.
Like the announcers are literally like, and he goes up for three, and he absolutely bricks it.
Dude, last night's missed field goals like a real life laces out. You know that's going to be on one of those compilations.
Hey man, if you're Dan, if you're watching this, our co-worker Dan, if you're watching this, we feel you, brother. We don't expect you into work this week.
Yeah, we got
maybe
some
he might
Bills
because he's your boss. But
I hope so, but. I know. I was just talking to a few people yesterday about. I was a Bills fan last night because in Syracuse it's like a holiday. It's like if they won went to the AFC Championship, you go to Wegmans this weekend. It's like Christmas Eve. It's like, what are you doing for the Bills game? The energy is just so
there's something
infectious.
in the air.
Yeah, it's great, and people are spending more money naturally. It's a great thing. So I was bummed. I was genuinely bummed. Although I do love watching greatness in Mahomes, I want to see him keep. Yeah, I want to see him keep rolling. But
yeah, I the same reasons that you just said. I wanted to see them make it to the Super Bowl just to see what like Wegmans and the Super Bowl parties would have been like. But
I don't know if Buffalo could handle it. Like we're 2.5 hours away, but like imagine the city of Buffalo. There'd be riots.
Yeah, no, if they won the Super Bowl, like I think people might die.
Yeah, like quarantine the city off.
I think they're cursed, actually cursed. But
yeah,
that's my hot take.
That's the conspiracy theorist in you.
Well, speaking of watching greatness, we are here with actual greatness.
Transition.
We are here with actual greatness. The one thing, since I've been at the company, one thing I've loved is like your appreciation for those type of guys. Though I've noticed that you really like those, like the Mahomes, the Bradys. Yep. The LeBrons, and I feel like that's really transitioned into just where you are in life. So yeah, like introduce yourself, and I want to really get into like how incredible of a story you have, because I think it gets touched on a little bit in like the newspaper articles and little things that you've done, but there's so much to it, and without further ado, I mean, just say who you are. But
first, I appreciate the comment, the kind words, the comments on that. But you guys know me well, and that's my job, is to defer that, and I genuinely mean it. Humility is everything. The second that we get self-righteous and arrogant, I didn't do any of this on my own. If I didn't have mentors, a great family, friends, you guys, literally. John, Dylan, the pioneers of saving face. I mean, I'm nothing. I'm just a dude with an idea, and so I'm just blessed. I'm just blessed with great people, as much as I'm sending texts and bashing my head against the wall because I'm naturally such a micromanager. I'm the guy that is just, really the checklists and wanting and needing to get things done. And when people aren't getting it done, it's like, it's the toughest thing. I know you empathize completely. It's like, on my days off, it's like I can't even drive by the shop at times because I'm like, the open sign's off.
Well, say your name. Say your name first.
You guys introduced me. I'm Anthony Nappa.
There you go. I'm
that humble. I can't say my name.
Those of you who joined us last time, you probably know Mike and my name, Taylor. And this is kind of, episode 2, but last time we just kind of summarized what we might do with this podcast, and I think today we wanted to start from the beginning with Anthony as the man who kind of founded Saving Face back in 2009. And I was really curious to kind of start from the way back, like, because I shared my story last time after getting an edge up from you, and I was like 14 or something, and I was like, this is the coolest haircut I've ever seen. And prior to that, there was, at least in Camillus, there was nothing. I mean, supercuts and some real older kind of Italian guy, kind of barbershops thing. And I had never seen fades and edge ups like you had been doing. Where were you inspired? Like, what kind of who did you look up to or get taught from as far as that kind of style of haircuts? Because it seems so new to our city, and you being maybe one of the pioneers of that style.
So I've said it before in a few different interviews. It was kind of my longing to become a barber was just born out of necessity because my parents weren't getting me a haircut as much as I'd like. So I started just buzzing it down on one length, like a 2, and then I had my brothers as guinea pigs. I remember one aha moment where I was sitting, and this is just follow me through this one.
Okay.
But I'm sitting there at my buddy's house on the couch, and we're watching the Up in Smoke tour. Remember that tour with Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg and
I don't. But
it's called the Up in Smoke tour.
Sounds familiar.
It was an iconic tour back in like 2001 or something like that, or 99. And I was looking at the DVD cover, and Dr. Dre had the freshest edge up, and I was like, I could do that on myself.
You can remember that moment.
That was one aha moment that I had.
So you hadn't even really seen it in person. You had just seen this by people you're inspired by, like musically or celebrities, these kind of styles.
And I wasn't reinventing the wheel on my own hair by any means. I was just buzzing it down on one length, starting to fade, but just using basic logic and math to just go in order with the steps. And then I started seeing little things like that, like you start to look for it because you're, a creator, and you're just like anything. You buy a new car, you start to see new cars. So I was looking at haircuts. You see the same car you just bought, I meant to say, but I started to look at haircuts and what I admired about certain haircuts, and I just tried to recreate that on myself, on friends in my parents' basement, next to a wash sink with a computer chair and a dim light, and that was just my humble beginnings.
To interrupt you too, my last cut was Matthew Rossetti before I came here.
Yeah.
And I didn't know you were out of the basement, and he was like, dude, I used to go to Ant's basement. There'd be a line of cars outside the house. And he's like, I'm telling you, there was like one light bulb.
Yeah.
And he was just like finessing kids out of there.
Yeah. And that was it. My mom had all her stuff right. It was just like, I could really give you a vivid image of this scene. It was like this old couch, junk everywhere. And there was just me just cutting hair on a concrete floor, $5 haircuts,
Was that a lot at the time? Like, what year is that happening?
This is like 2004, 5.
Wow. Okay.
So, but for me, $5 haircuts with no bills in my parents' basement.
How old were you in 2004 or 5?
14, 15. So I was for me as a kid in school, living in my parents' house with no bills, that was $15. And money just went so much further. At that age with no stress.
Yeah.
No, we've come a long way from that. We're in the 30s.
Yeah.
That's why you're my boss, man. Because I was cutting. Kids were getting off the bus for me, but I was just like doing it for free. I was just like happy to be there. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like, we're chilling.
Nothing's free, Mick.
No,
I was doing it for free for a long time too, because it's something that's it's creative. So we're emotionally tied to it. So I think there's a sense of guilt when we're that raw to be like, should I charge for it?
That's
I don't know.
Did you go through that? Because I still go through that a little bit.
Oh, for sure. I go through it now when we raise prices. I'm like,
am I worth this?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that's natural for any art. I want to say. I feel like you probably feel the same way. Like if you were selling your music.
I just did pictures.
Your DJ services.
Yeah. I just did pictures for people this weekend. Didn't charge either of them because I'm like, exactly what you're saying. Exactly what you're saying.
But it's funny how that works, because the irony is that that's so proprietary to us, and it's something only we can create. We just feel like, well, it didn't cost me that much to do it. It just cost me time. But what's more valuable than our time,
That's
Nothing.
So,
when did that click for you, you feel like?
Time, valuing time?
Yes.
Relatively recently, I want to say. That's probably in the last 5-10 years, because time is that's all we got. I mean, we can always make more money. There's no question. And time, certainly having kids, I think that's what was the true precursor
I had a feeling that was
to
the
this.
Answer. Yeah.
Kids, because then they're these little humans that quickly grow up, and they start to become measuring sticks of time, because you're starting to measure them in terms of months, and then it's years, and then it's like, I got a 12-year-old, and it's like you're looking back at these pictures and these memories that are distinct, but like anything, when you're not really cherishing time, you were just trying to get through them rather than being fully present. And that's learning that the hard way has been the best teacher for me, because there's been so many things I'm looking back on with kids, namely, and I'm just like, man, I was there, but I wasn't.
It feels like lately, because you said this to me, and I've noticed the time thing with you the last 6 years that I've been around. I feel like time has gotten really, really important to you. And you recently said to me about like Juju and Roman like coming around, and I've noticed them more at the shop. And you're like, yeah, like you brought up the toys being on the floor and like being upset about it, but being like, I know I'm gonna miss it when it's gone. And then like just having them be around the shop more. Do you feel like your two youngest, did you mess up? Not mess up, maybe not.
No,
that,
I know.
But
yeah.
Do you feel like your first, Adriana, like, do you feel like you didn't appreciate the time? Is that why it feels like these two? Yeah.
Well, I had her at 21, so I was just figuring this stuff out. I was, starting a business. Really, that was what kind of, we were in the shop next door to where we started, 2009, 3 chairs. 2011 comes around, or just before 2010, we find out we're having a kid. And then I ironically got a call from the landlord at the time saying like, hey, the tattoo shop next door moved out. There's, it's 1,500 square feet versus the 500 that you're in. And do you want to jump? And I was like, man, I just found out I'm having a kid. Do I want to expand the business? Rent's going to more than double. Now I got to put money into this. What do I do? And then I really had to sit with it for a while and be like, if I don't do it now before the child is here, when I'm still living at home with my parents, thankfully, and banking money, am I ever going to do it when I have more responsibilities? And I was just kind of, that was a big moment for me where I'm like, I got to jump right now, because I definitely won't if I have more relying on me.
Was that the scariest moment?
It was big. It was big. But again, I was living with my parents, so there was a lot of, at the time, certainly, it did feel that way. But business, man, I can't really pinpoint one scariest moment, I don't think, because as you know, it's just business is a battlefield. I mean, we're sitting there in foxholes every day, tossing grenades,
Yeah, I mean, I respect you guys,
literally, because, that's where, like, today I was at a barber school in Schenectady and doing a demo for these kids, and they're just on fire. And you're seeing this every day with the new school. These kids are just on fire, passionate about the art, what I fell in love with originally. So it's so easy to get bogged down by the business stuff and lose sight of that. So being there is energizing. So the days that we have, Taylor and I, after we opened Familia, started using Tuesdays as like our administrative day to solve the problems of the world, that day. Yeah. And we have a joke that we get Tuesday headaches. Like you feel like a tension headache. The pressure lures up the back of your neck and you just feel it throb.
And we cut no hair.
And it's just induced by the problems, the fires that we're putting out, the changes we want to make that are affecting, there's a ripple effect on everything for every change that we make. So,
and not only that, but the different hats you got to wear, because you got to go from, let's talk about the ads we want to run, and then to move over to HR.
That's right.
Let's move over to accounting. It's like we got to wear all these different hats as a business owner.
I need you guys to go into this a little more, because I think opening a barber shop has a stigma that it's like really easy. Yeah,
it's easy in the sense of the barrier of entry, because if we're just talking black and white money, you could open up a barber shop with like 10 grand and be in business. I'll say. It's not going to be the nicest shop by any means. You're not going to leverage technology very much, but so unlike any other most businesses, if you want to start an IT business, or if you want to start, you name it, a car dealership. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's easy for somebody to open a barber shop, but it's just it's not at all what it is what you make of it, in the sense of you get what you put in, to be overly cliche, but the the thing with being in business, not necessarily a barbershop, is that pressure. It's that level of pressure that we feel because we're not, unlike a job, we don't shut off the lights and go home and forget about it. I mean, I've struggled with this for a long time, but I've been building this, and Taylor has been building this now for, going on 15 years. And there's always that thought that there's someone out there that is, getting ready to start their own business and wants to take everything you have, wants to crush everything you built over the course of those 15 years.
There's never a sense of certainty. Right. Like, we made it, we're fine, we're good. Every day I wake up like, if I don't handle myself correctly, this house of cards could crumble. That's what I feel every day.
I'm so surprised to hear this because I didn't know you guys felt that way.
Yeah, no, it's a pressure that you do bear it.
I'm just saying it that it's right, that it's real, that it's not necessarily something we lose sleep over, but it's always in the back of your mind because it all ends with us. Yeah. At the end of the day, there's no one else to tell. We have mentors, but there's nobody invested that's going to be like, all right, we gotta adjust the sails and go over there because this water's choppy. It's just us, and it's like that. It's a lot of pressure just as a general rule.
What kind of feeling do you get? You're sitting on the couch with your family Sunday night, 8-9 p.m. You get a text from one of the team members. You're always like
dreaded words, and I hope you guys are all listening.
And you don't even know what's gonna happen. You don't even open the message. You're like,
it's the verbatim, "Hey man, can we talk?"
I always start mine with "Hey man,"
and it's just
with like perfect grammar, commas, and everything.
You're the same way that when that text comes in, I'm not letting that one stew. I'm not just going to. I'm calling them immediately. Like, dude, what's up? We're talking about this right now, and it's never good timing, But and it may be nothing. It may be someone be like, I think that I left my water bottle on the desk, and
but you never start. You never assume that's what it's going to be. I'm sure it's nothing. It's like, they're probably quitting and stealing everyone, or so. Or
it's me being like, and I literally shit my pants on the way to work.
Are we going there?
We have to. I literally shit my pants on the way to work.
That was a good one. That was the first 15 years.
I don't know if you'll ever get it again.
Yeah.
I shit my pants when I was cutting. We can bleep this out, dude.
Did you really?
He doesn't know. You gotta make a mental note to bleep that one out. But Camillus, years ago, I had white shorts on, dude. I had to go home.
While you were cutting him.
Wow, dude, I just sharted.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I can say that I've never done that. I had to piss in a bottle on the way to Schenectady today.
That's
about as bad as it gets. Everyone's done that while you're on a road trip.
I shit my pants so much. I think I told you. I mean, my family literally, there's like these little packets. They're like little like disc looking things, and you put them in water and they blow up to be like a paper towel. Mm-hmm. And they got them for me a couple Christmases ago because they're like, just in case you're out on a run and shit your pants.
Oh man, that was iconic. That was a good moment. Josh called me that morning. He had a flat tire, and I think I was the only. For some reason, I was the only one opening that day. He had a flat tire. Hour later, you call me with that. I was just like, you can't make this up. It was a busy morning.
You're like, yo, did you get a flat tire too? I'm like, nah, I just shit my pants.
Yeah. That's just something you gotta lean into. You gotta own it. You gotta just own it.
There's no like whatever, man.
Not that I would have aired that one out on you anyways, but
just to correct the course here, getting back on opening a barbershop. I had some interesting insight just a couple days ago. A fellow shop owner, not even in Syracuse, but someone we know from out the Schenectady way. He opened a shop and he worked for us years back, and he's an amazing barber, super talented. He's year and a half into his shop being open, and he kind of reached out for advice, and his biggest thing was like, dude, so we opened up, kind of a town, there's not much going on really, and we're charging like $30. He's like, I was kind of worried people wouldn't even come. He's like, but word spread fast, and we can't keep people away. We're so busy. And again, I think it has to do with he's a really good barber, right? He's like, I'm a really good barber. I'm going to open a shop, and it's going to be fine. So I'm hearing all this. He's like, we're so busy. I'm charging, good money. So I'm like, so what's the problem, you know? And it's like, well, I'm trying to hire people, and the people I do hire, either they maybe aren't quite to the level of work quality that I'm happy with yet, and I don't have time to train them because I'm too bogged down with my own cuts, or, you know, people coming in late. It's like, how do I handle that? I'm scared to, like, I don't want to, like, have these hard conversations with someone because I'm scared they might leave, and I'm kind of depending on them for part of my income, you know? So you're starting to balance all these different things on top of just focusing on your craft and being good at what you do. There's so many other things at play, and it was interesting just to hear someone, again, like you said, we think it's easy, like haircutting is 100% of the battle, or even customer service, and there's a lot that goes into it that is a little bit more difficult than it seems. I know when we opened Manlius, I was like overconfident. I'm like, we're going to be totally fine. And, you know, sure enough, it has been. It's been amazing.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
You know, there's moments where you're like, whoa, I did not expect this.
Is this all worth it?
Absolutely.
Now, we say all this to say that it is worth it. We love what we do. Don't hear, you know, what we're not saying, but the reality is that there's a lot of pressure, but that pressure is a privilege. You know, it's a privilege for Bass last night in that Bills game to have the opportunity to kick that field goal and unfortunately shank it. But that level of pressure is a privilege. Mahomes marching down the field as time expires. Yep. That's a privilege. We're privileged. We're blessed to be able to do this, but to your point, there's a huge distinction between owning a business and owning your job. And barbers can fall prey to that, you know, very easily because it's...
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, because
that's kind of like what this fellow is doing. Like, he's just cutting hair under a new roof. He even said, word for word, he's like, I'm making just as much money as when I worked somewhere else because I'm just eating all my own bills now, and I can't step away from my own chair.
And you have more stress.
Yeah.
So,
you know?
Right. So barbering, it can happen easily because you have this clientele, you have this, you know, residual income that's going to follow you somewhere else. So if you just take on bills and you just have your chair and you're cutting hair, you suddenly own your own job, you know, with just more bills and more headaches, more stress. Whereas a business, we have to make those decisions that impact everyone. Not everyone's going to be happy about certain policies and procedures, you know, but we have to make decisions that are going to hopefully impact everyone in a positive way. And you know, a rising tide lifts all ships sort of thinking in everything that we look at. Whereas you're just kind of, you know, even if you have a couple guys there with you, you know, and you're just operating under those pretenses, you're just kind of a couple buddies cutting together, each owning your job. So it's a popular thing in our industry. Big difference for sure, but that difference comes with a lot of stress.
I can see that because DJing, I feel like that. It feels like I own my job, but I don't want to own a business of it though. Like I like just having me, but like making decisions for other people, I'm not
because
into right now.
You're the curator, right? You have your music, your transitions. So now to hire someone else, they're responsible for your image, your name, right? And you're like, oh man, he played a weird song. I hate that. You know?
Hate it. Hate it.
So it's a balancing act for sure.
That says a lot about you though, with contentment, you know, because to say that is pretty awesome, to be like, I'm content enough and self-aware enough to say that is fulfilling to me, and that's great. You know, doesn't look like saving face for everybody, and that's just fine. Or it doesn't look like Starbucks or any business that you want to scale. You know, it's just might not be. I envy a lot of that sort of thinking because I wish I, you know, had adopted that sooner. Just to have the wherewithal to know that I can be content without just sacrificing so many things on the altar of getting things done. Yeah. If you follow me there, like you say yes to things, naturally you say no to other things, and usually for me and for most people, it's your family. It's the ones closest to you because it's the easiest, but it's the most.
Be home a little later.
It's the most important one. But we do that to the ones that we care about the most. I have an amazing family. I'm so grateful for my family, and I have a rock star wife who's absolutely incredible, because it takes a special woman to be married to an entrepreneur. It just does. And we've had to pick certain battles, but just the strongest woman I know and incredible mother, I couldn't do it without her at all. And I've just said no to her so many times naturally in the name of saying yes to other things that in my mind are going to seemingly get me ahead and advance me monetarily. But it's like, man, what I shared.
What point is it worth it?
Yeah, I shared this with the school. What's it worth rather than what does it cost? Because it might have cost me a few $100s or a couple $1,000s, but was it worth sacrificing my family, the ones that are going to be there with me forever? And I had a really, I don't know how long-winded you wanted me to get on this one subject, but I had a profound moment. I got COVID around what was it, right after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And man, I don't know about you guys, but both times I had COVID, I was looking at life through a gray lens. It was dreary. I was depressed. And I'm an anxious dude generally, but I'm not a depressed guy. Like I'm not, that's never been my MO, or never been my thing, thankfully. I'm grateful that I'm not. But anxious for sure, but I was just like, didn't want to work out, was like, just stopped caring about a lot of stuff, and I was still being a dad and all these things.
Yeah.
But I was, I was just struggling, just defeated, and I had a few moments. The big thing I was hung up on was the kids, like I talked to you about. I was looking at my kids, and I was looking back at pictures and looking at them as little individuals, little babies. I'm like, they're going to blossom into adults, these shells of humans that little baby, that little child, that toddler, that 4 or 5-year-old is going to be gone forever. And that just like hit me like a ton of bricks. I was so defeated about it. I was so broken up. I was like, about the time that I missed with them that I'm never going to get back. And it just, for that week, it just crushed me. And I was thinking about my camp too, because I bought a camp, because the whole thinking when COVID hit was like, man, I've invested in this business a ton, bought real estate, done all kinds of things, and this is going to be a true investment in my family. We're going to spend summers up there. We're going to do all this stuff. So right after COVID, we invest in that. Things start getting back to normal. Starts off great. I'm just up there. I'm swimming with the kids, hanging out, and then slowly I creep back into, I need to get this thing, fixed up. I need to do all these things so it'll appreciate, and I'll gain money out of it. And I just got sucked into it. Every time we'd go up, my wife was chasing around 2 little kids. I was off painting and building a deck, and just like, I got to get this done so I can get to this place. But it's just the arrival fallacy. I would have got there, and I just would have been looking for something else to do. And I didn't have the self-awareness to do that. So here I am. We're moving up here where this is like the dream. Next thing I know, it's 3 years later. She wants to sell it. It's a miserable place for her now because it's so associated with me just getting things done. And the kids are, the kids like it, but we were just like, well, if we sell camp, we're going to get you a sandbox and we're going to get you a couple more toys that we had up there. And they were like, all right, fine, deal. Yeah. So it was just me, and I'm driving home. It was like something out of a movie. I'm driving home this U-Haul filled with all the stuff that we just brought up there that we were going to create memories forever, and I'm crying my eyes out. I'm just like, how did this happen? And I'm not a crier, but I was like, I can tell you're not. This is like, how did I do this? I did this. It all began and ended with me. Like, I chose to just want to just make this something that it wasn't supposed to be. And I'm in the depths of this thinking, and I'm just, everything's gray, everything's somber, and I'm cutting the pastor of my church's hair, Pastor Bruce, and he said something that just hit me that I'll never forget. But he said, he's like, and this was as I'm kind of on the heels of coming out of this funk, so I'm doing better, and COVID's gone, I'm not cutting anyone's hair with COVID, but it's still lingering. So I'm cutting his hair, and he said, I'm telling him all the same stuff, and he's like, only one person can be the father to your kids. Anyone else, and the husband to your wife, anyone else can plug and play into this business and do what you do and could do it better for all you know. No one's replacing you at home. So that's the most important thing that you need to prioritize, like barring none. And it just hit me in a crazy way. I was just like, wow, it's so true. I don't want any other dude to be around my kids and, fathering my kids or with my wife, but anybody really can step. Taylor can take over for me tomorrow. Or John, or any of these guys, Dylan.
Yeah.
And I'd feel great. I'd honestly feel great. I feel great now with them doing tons of stuff. I trust in them wholeheartedly. But nobody's replacing me at home. Never. No. That's the stuff that's transcending generations. It's transcending. You talk to your kids, you're talking to your grandkids and your great grandkids. Nothing replaces that with the wisdom and knowledge you're going to give them. So that just hit me in a crazy way. So don't get COVID. Don't get COVID.
Or don't cry.
I don't even know I'm going to chop that clip up, man. I do know it's just going to end with, so don't get COVID.
You know what's funny, too, is I have one of my... It wasn't profound at the time, but it has become one of those moments for me was... this was like first few months working in Camillus for you, probably 2012, 2013. You had to be 22, maybe.
Mm-hmm. 22, 23, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just happened to me in the back room and they were closing up. You're like, Tay, you ever like had anxiety? I'm like, I don't think so. I'm like 18, 19.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. I was just like, I don't know. I think that's what I have. And like at the time, I'd never felt a shred of it. I was just like, didn't know what that was. And fast forward, there's a lot of younger barbers out there who probably, I hope you can pick up on some of the gems that Ant just dropped. But some of the stuff life throws at you, you're going to be introspective and, it can hit you like a ton of bricks at some point in your life. And that early 20s for me was that kind of transition period where you go from young adult, kid really, to young adult. And even now we're still learning. I mean, look at you at what, 30, 31, 32?
33. I'll be 34 in March.
Wow, yeah.
34 in March,
I mean, still learning just profound life lessons. And I think that's something we do. We're always students of life.
I need to move this because this other camera turned off, but hold on one sec.
Okay. Still have audio? Oh, yeah. We got audio. Love that. Quick vape cut.
Go ahead.
Dude, that was good.
I think it's going to be good, yeah.
Yeah.
Just keeping it natural, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Keeping it vulnerable, right?
Absolutely.
Transparent.
That's totally...
Talking about, crap in our pants.
Yeah. No, this is great, man. I think... even me and Mike are learning new things about you. The rest of the team's going to be like, oh, dude, Well,
it's funny how that stuff works. Not to, if I don't know if it's recording or not. If you want to hear this stuff, but
yeah, keep it. You can record it, too.
It's recording. Yeah.
I don't know about you, man, but that's something for sure that with my personal life, we think this stuff so much. So guys like us that are introverted, that are anxious, we think this stuff so much that we think we told it to people and we didn't. We think everyone just knows what's the soundtracks that are playing in our heads.
Yeah.
They just know it. And I'm so guilty of that with my family because we get home and Michelle's like, you don't tell me anything. And it's not because I'm trying to withhold anything.
Yeah.
It's just because I've played it in my mind so much and I've debated
yes.
at length how I was going to say it to other people that, again, I just neglected, the ones that really shouldn't. Like, I'm talking bigger news, like some of the stuff with, the shop here, like that we, like the one radio show that Mike chopped up and posted. She's like, why didn't you ever tell me you were on a radio show recently? I was like,
did she learn that from me posting
from you posting it?
That's happened with Kara too, a few times. Just, I think part of it too, I know all three of us here, we like journal and meditate as well, and I almost talk things out to myself, but you're still in kind of a closed loop there.
Right.
And like you said, like same with my wife, Kara, she's gotten me through things and is kind of, I can be up here so tightly wound and she can bring me back down to reality and get me out of that headspace. And and I think everyone hopefully are blessed enough to have at least a friend or something to be able to vent like that and work through things, because it certainly helps.
That's right, because I mean, especially with anxiety, like you just said, that's all we got. I mean, we're tribal people. That's all we have is human beings to transfer wisdom to one another, and just share these shared struggle,
Yeah.
What brings people together more than shared struggle? Think about, people that are marching for any cause, or missionaries that are getting slaughtered by some tribe. They're together, in this remote part of the earth when they're, standing for something, whether they're getting killed for their faith, where they're, where it's not, it's illegal to be a Christian in certain parts of the world, as inconceivable as that could be. The shared struggle, that brings people together more than anything. So just to know that other people have anxiety, have depression, gives solace in and of itself.
Yeah. Well, it's like, Mike, you said you were surprised to even hear that Ant or I can deal with some of these things. We all do. Everyone does. Even the people that put on the strongest faces. I mean, we all deal with these things.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a big YouTube community. Like, I mean, you guys have seen me like go through breakups and shit like that, and it's like something about going on YouTube and saying like videos about like how do you get through this and whatever. It's like so many people go something about knowing
just
like
knowing you're not alone.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Vulnerability draws us closer. As much as we think as kids that we need to stay guarded and be like, just this front, like everything's perfect. It's vulnerability that draws us in. I've shared in the leadership meetings. You think of that person that you work with, or the woman that's perfect, who's got it all together, and then her perfect marriage, kids are, going to college, they're rogue scholars. And then next thing you know, she comes in, she's like, my husband's leaving me. The front's just, the walls fell, and her whole life imploded. And what do? You don't shame her. You're like, wow, I empathize with her. She struggles like me. The vulnerability brings us in because nobody can relate to perfect. So we're all wearing masks,
Which isn't that crazy? Where I feel like I hear so much how this is like the loneliest generation ever, but it's also the generation who just is the most masked. You know what I mean? Which is very interesting, because if we were maybe a little more vulnerable, maybe people would come together a little more. But everybody is going on these social platforms and really highlight reeling.
Well, that's exactly what
it
is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's social media. That's the big difference. Social
maybe if
media
there was more, everybody was putting their airball clips up.
Yeah, being vulnerable.
But for real though. But honestly though, like shitting your pants and going to work, I did that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people look at me, especially like in the area we are, DJing, music, whatever. It's like,
he's got it all.
Yeah, it's like, no, I shit my pants on the way to work. Had to call my boss. Had to literally go shower.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The airball thing is funny because it's true. All funny things have their roots in truth, because most of us suck at basketball, if we're being for real.
Compared to what like these guys
of people,
up here,
right? Most people suck at basketball, so they relate to that. Whereas social media is this smoke screen and this facade that nobody can relate to. So when you see somebody driving around in this crazy car, or these girls all with these crazy injections and stuff and looking perfect, nobody can relate to that because it's not real life. So when we disengage, and that's why I'm not on social media personally. We have the shop pages, but I'm dying on that hill, man. I'm not a social media guy.
You, man. I don't blame you.
I'm gonna stay old school with that one, but it's so true, man. Being vulnerable brings us closer. Yeah. So
it's a good leadership tactic to for those listening who may be shop owners or really any business, but some of those moments where I've been vulnerable with our team, it truly has brought everyone together on a united front towards the same goal. I think as certainly when I was starting off as a leader, I felt the need to just be strong and look like I know what I'm doing all the time. And the moment I started sharing that, guys, I'm a little lost. Like I know we'll get to the right place, and I'm figuring this out. And I try to lean on them for ideas and help. It's done wonders for our team.
Yeah, that's it. That's what brings us together. Most people tell themselves their own truths. Like there's so many times where people like say things to like people think they'll look at me we got 4 shops together, in the school, and I got a few other things going on. They'll just be like, dude's worth $100 million.
I was gonna say, I thought you were worth $10 million.
They tell themselves their own truths, and they piece together logic. So when you don't do certain things, when they're like, this person near him could be struggling, he's a multimillionaire worth $100 million. Why isn't he helping that person? He's a scumbag, and he says he's a Christian. Wow, that's what, so I just think about that. I'm like, how much do we do this naturally? And it's like, that person has no idea. It costs $750,000 to raise a kid in this country today to the age of 18. 1 kid. So 3 kids, over the life of them. That alone is worth a ton of money. And then, we have bills, you design a lifestyle around what you have, and barbershops, they're great businesses. Don't hear what I'm not saying, because we're incredibly blessed, with what we have, and I'm more than grateful for everything I have completely. But barbershops aren't businesses that just start printing money. They're just not. They're just not. And any barber that's listening to this that's starting out knows the margins in barbershops are generally slim. They just are. That's just the nature of it. So that's why you look at a business, to use Supercuts as an example, because it's a hair business. Their mission is to scale. They need to get to critical mass. They need to grow as rapidly as possible at all times.
So how do they do that? They pay people less.
Right. They pay people less. Right. And that's how they make money. We're not Starbucks that's making 150%
people are there at 7:30 at night grabbing a coffee.
You're not selling a $6 coffee that you paid 20 cents for.
Right. Just the margins on their products, correct, are not what barbering there's just a cost to everything, and that's, barbershops are just not that could be why you don't see a lot of barbershops scale and grow, because the margins are slim. Now again, we're blessed. I can't emphasize that enough. I'm so grateful.
We do this because we love the craft and our people and what we do. Like,
it's anchored
if we
in
were
the passion.
trying to just purely get rich, we'd be opening car dealerships, restaurants, something that
It's anchored in the passion, and that's where it's got to always be.
And that's what you have to love this. If you want to really do this and open a business, you better be doing it because you love it. You'll be fine. Are you going to be a multi-millionaire? Probably not.
If your truth is telling you, open a barbershop because it will get me rich,
you're wrong.
Rethink the truth. I mean, it's walk that logic back and really tell yourself the truth, because
it's because I want to do something different, and I want to truly be in control of my own destiny, and I love what I'm doing. Do it.
That's right.
That's the difference.
I caught a guy last week, and he was like, he's like, sometimes you just need to ask yourself, like, would I do this if nobody saw me do it? And I feel like that's kind of what you guys are getting at. Like, barbershop is one of those things, like, if you wouldn't do it, if you weren't ever going to get a pat on the back, then don't do it, because it's not going to be as glamorous as, like you said, I think a lot of people walk around our town and are like, and Nappa has $100 million.
He's just got it all figured out. And not to, but if they had a window into my real life outside of their personal truth that they tell themselves about me or about anybody else, it's just reality and the truth are so different.
How tough is it for you guys? Like, for me, and my like personal journey, like, I've realized controlling my narrative, like, when I feel out of control of my narrative, I really feel uncomfortable. Like, one of the things, like, going through any breakup, I just realized very recently was like, I really hate the feeling of like an ex-girlfriend being with somebody new and telling them like that I'm not perfect. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, somebody can know like I've messed up in my life and whatever. Like, that really is something I'm working through, like, just in all aspects of life. So like you said, like, oh, and Nappa, he didn't donate here. Like, he's not a great Christian or whatever. Like, how like Google reviews or people leaving the shop, like, you just can't control the whole narrative of your barbershop, of your business. Like, Have you guys had to detach from that? Are you working on that? Like, how do you go about that? Because I think that's another thing. Like, those cuts leave the shop, especially from people who you guys can't cut all the hair. Like, you have employees. We're all cutting hair. But it might fall back on you. Like, how do you guys talk about that in these Tuesday things? Like, talk to me about controlling the narrative. And have you guys had to work through that? Are you, like, you know what I mean? Talk to me about that.
I could spend an hour talking about this. I mean,
well, don't do that. But.
No, of course.
But
I mean, I'm a control freak, and controlling things controls us. So it's like you either have to let it go if you want to grow. And that's not to say like just totally throw quality out the door and just let anything, because we certainly put the fires out as they come and try to prevent them and play offense there. But you have to just know, like, you're not in it's true for every restaurant. They're never going to put out a perfect meal every time. You know, we're not going to put out perfect cuts all the time, but the floor's not always going to be swept. It's not going to, the rugs aren't going to be vacuumed, you know. But if we have to trust in other people that they're going to follow the processes and hold other people accountable, because it can. We'll go nuts. We'll go nuts trying to do that. And it's just, I was just having this conversation with someone the other day, because I also, you know, and I feel like this one irks me when people say they have OCD because it sounds cool. It does. You know, you know the type of people like, I got OCD. Yeah, they don't know what they're talking 100%.
About. 100%.
Like, I actually, you know, do struggle with that. And I think for the longest time, it helped me in many ways. And that's the tricky thing about it, that it really got me, you know, trying to keep everything perfect. Thing. Right. Yeah. Certainly with cutting hair, but like trying to keep the numbers perfect, trying to keep the shop looking perfect, keep my reputation perfect and what people think about me. But it catches up to you.
Man, keeping the rep perfect my feeling. Yeah. I've realized that a lot of my pain in life is trying to be perfect. Yeah. You know what I mean? Same. Just that rep.
Right.
Now, I struggle with all that. I think we all struggle with this. I think we all are people pleasers. We're perfectionists, you know? And for me, I still struggle with that. I identify as working on it, as you said. But for me, what's been the most effective in combating that is, one, kind of prevention. So if, let's say, it's with keeping the reputation of our cuts and our shops good, right? Staying ahead of it and teaching everyone, sharing all the knowledge I have, right? And then two, if obviously it's going to happen, you're going to get that 1-star review. Something's going to happen. It's just not. There's a lot of times I'll see someone try to pass the blame and be like, oh, well, they were just kind of a dick anyways. Like, that wasn't, it wasn't meant to be. My thought process is always, what could I possibly do different next time? Or what could I possibly do right now to remedy the situation? And sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes they're just not going to come back. It's too far gone, whatever. But at least I can look myself in the mirror and say I gave it everything I got to fix that. And I don't usually feel good until I do that. And until I try to keep preventing it in the future. That's right. You know?
That's true.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. It's, with your question about the reputation with other people, I'd challenge you to, like, put yourself in that guy's place, the new guy that's hearing about you. Because what I would be thinking, I was like, oh, that dude's just like me. Just like I said, he's messed up just like me.
It's a good point, man.
He probably likes you more now, you know?
No, that's a good point,
it's like, man, I thought I was the only one that was messed up. You know?
No, it's a good point. It's a good point. And I, you know, we are like that as people, to your point as well. Like, we do deflect blame, like, in all these type of situations, but I feel like our shops are really good. You guys do a really good job of helping us get to that place of, like, yeah, maybe you're not all the way in the wrong, but, like, what can you own up to some stuff?
That's right.
Yeah.
You know humility is everything. Yeah, I mean, to hear, again, it's that whole vulnerability thing. To hear us not be humble is for a new person is the worst thing, you know, that we could possibly do. You know, to hear us be like, yeah, I don't know the answer to that, but let me do some research, let me figure it out, let me strategize. I think about guys like John. You know, John's always asking me stuff. He's been with us for 13 years, or 12, 13 years now. And he,
is there anybody that's just more down for the cause for you?
That's what I mean. He'd run through a wall for us, and I'd do the same for him.
Yeah.
And the stuff, there's so many people now that work for us too, that'll sort of tell us things, like, I'm going to take this day off. And, I don't think they're trying to be underhanded, but John's just like, not about time off, but John's just like always asking how to handle this situation. Not just, I handled it, now you deal with the repercussions because I probably handled it wrong. It's always like, he's just a student as well as an incredible friend, and just such an exception to the rule of what business and friendship can be together.
Yeah.
He's such an incredible dude to me. Like,
yep. And Dylan too, not to discount Dylan, they're those two guys.
Dylan's all right.
I don't know what I'd do without him. I don't know what I'd do without him.
Yeah, he's okay.
Love those guys.
Yeah. No, they ride. John, I mean, everybody I talk to that tells me about the early days too. Like I said, Rosetti's telling me. He's like, dude, John's working the front desk, just sitting there all day.
He had his red tall tee on, swinging like a curtain.
Just down for the cause, man.
Yeah.
Just down for the cause, man. Just down for the cause. He's seen a lot
of seasons of the business, for sure.
Yeah. What does this year just look like for you? Like, what are you, not even business-wise, but just, like, personally, like, what are you really trying to lock in on? Because I feel like you're always, it's a journey, right?
For
like, there's
me,
no destination with wisdom and whatever. So, like, what are you kind of locking in on?
It's a dance, man. It's this contentment, that you touched on, and being present. What I told you about my camp was pretty recent. This was this last summer, and this sort of epiphany, with being present is really my top priority. Because even just today, last night, I went to Schenectady today to take to teach the class, and I was fully planning on working tomorrow and doing my thing, and Michelle's like, you're gonna take you're switching your days off, right? You worked today. And I was like, I wanted to work, and I was like, but like, again, putting my family first. My wife's love language is quality time.
What's yours, you think?
Mine is words of affirmation, for sure.
Okay.
Physical touch, being a guy, but words of affirmation bigger. Because even something like this, let's keep the vulnerable train going, because I'm going to be thinking for weeks, how did I sound? Did I sound nasally? Was it too vulnerable? Did the shoes look all right? Was my
one's going to be more vulnerable than me, just
for sure,
literally saying I shit in my pants on the way to
that's
work.
Right.
So don't worry.
That's my thinking. Yeah. So words of affirmation, to hear that I did something good, but I'm a people pleaser too. I want to make everyone happy. So for her, it's quality time. What bigger compliment to a husband can that be? She just wants to spend time with me. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow. I mean, she could want gifts or acts of service or the other love languages, but she just wants to chill with me. It's like, I'm really taking inventory of that, of my family and being with the kids, and really just, even when I feel like I'm wasting time sitting there playing Legos with them and coloring, you're people building. You're building people for a lifetime. There's no bigger business than that. This is nothing compared to building people that will affect generations to come.
Dude, so think about how many people that they could, you know what I mean? All three of them. You know?
That they can affect in a good way if I'm present. And if I'm not, conversely, I mean, that could go the other way. If I'm just like, Dad was just in service of money, so we should do that.
We hear that so much in the shop too. I can see it on people, man. It's sad. Like, it's sad to hear how many people had just rough childhoods.
Yeah. And
not necessarily rough as in like they grew up in poverty, whatever, but like your parents. I just was in therapy today. Like, shout out my parents, love them, but they were around, and I'm like, why do I? We're talking. I'm like, why do I feel like? Why do I have such abandonment? My parents were in the same house as me for the first 12 years of my life. Like, they were there, but she's like, it's just so much deeper than just physically being there. Like, the mental aspect is
being present and invested. Right?
Yeah, it goes deep.
Yeah. And I feel like you too, like you're expecting a kid, and I know you're going to be a great dad, but it is those things because you're a busy dude too, man.
Well, that's the biggest thing I'm worried about being a future father is I'm not worried that I'll be around physically, but I want to be present mentally. That's right. I'm not good at that at all. So I have things on my mind all the time, and I work really hard at minimizing that. And but it's still a daily grind. I mean, I still meditate every day and just try to keep that in check. But I'm really hoping to be, like you're saying, that guy, that dad for them.
Well, it's always going to be that, though. So it's the arrival fallacy, like you're going to always be
never
doing
going to be like, I've achieved it, I'm perfectly present, I'm
but
Buddha.
That's, your kids need to see that, too, and it's, if there's one key to parenting, and there's no key to anything, so I can't believe I'm even saying that, but it's love your kids more than you love yourself. The worst parents are the most selfish ones that just like, man, I can't give up going to bars, I can't give up doing this, and your kids suffer because of it. So if you love your kids more than yourself, you're going to naturally just be with them and want to be invested in them. And it's really that simple, but it's so hard.
Do you feel like no matter what your kid, like, what's it feel like to be like, I know my kids are going to have to work through something when they get older? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it feels like it's kind of inevitable, like they're going to grow up and have to like work through something.
Like they haven't dealt with like real life stuff yet,
That's right. But the other part of that is, I won't get too far in the weeds, but people, like, being a Christian, people say like, well, if God's real, then why does evil exist? But there's so many reasons why that's the case. And, you look at, there's no courage without adversity.
No, you need it, man.
Right.
You need it.
Right. There's no, evil lives as a parasite to good.
Yeah.
Without good, there's no evil. So it's like a car.
Like up
without,
and down.
Right.
Yeah.
Without a car with rust is a rusty car. Rust without a car doesn't exist. Yeah. So it's like you need bad things. You need to let your kids, do things in order to become the person they're gonna be.
Just like Bills fans. For them to enjoy, whenever a Super Bowl happens, it will happen. If the earth makes it for another 200 years, the Bills will win a Super Bowl. I can assure you guys. But in order for that moment to feel so great, it's like, if you're a fan of Mahomes, like, how great do they really feel? They don't feel that great today. They're like, yeah, it's cool. The Bills fans will feel so good because you got absolutely shit on for 40 years. And that's what's great about getting older, man. Like, getting older is really scary for me at times, but the one thing that is great is realizing, like, you can pinpoint when some shit, I'm sure if you in the car, driving home, you're crying, maybe not that exact second, you're like, I know something great is going to come from this because we're humans. But I'm sure, I know you, so I'm sure at some point the dot connected and you're like, that was a really good moment for that to happen to me.
Well, I know what happened because the fact that you are even considering the fact that you worked more today, so you might work less tomorrow.
Right.
That wouldn't even be an option for you like a year ago.
Well, still, that's me just listening to my wife more because I would have been working tomorrow if she didn't say that. But the moments like those for me look like I never want to be here again. Yeah. What can I do to never be sitting in this, where I'm sitting right now, feel this, take this in, take this pain in, sit with it, and identify it, and never be here again.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's how you do naturally. I mean, everything is just like we're in this boat rowing, and it's like if you're not always rowing, you're going to be drifting. You're going to be crashing because you're at the mercy of the elements, the rain, the choppy waters, there's still waters. You're going to be flowing off, the side. So we get complacent. We stop rowing. Things are going good. Mm-hmm. We're getting used to it. And then you stop rowing. And then you start to crash and backslide. And so we're just constantly needing these reminders and needing to be around people that will remind us of that.
Yeah, I love that because I've gotten really caught up in, like, like, I just want a peaceful stretch of life. Like, I just want peace. And, like, you can have it, but I'm realizing, too, like, there's still conflicts in peace, but maybe you choose a more peaceful route in the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But either way, there is going to be conflict, no matter what.
Right.
Like you said, you're going to have to row. Because if you stop rowing, we see people, that's the great thing about being a barber, is there's so many examples of, like, not to, like, shit on people, but there's so many people I'm like, God, I don't want to end up like that. Mm-hmm. People that just drift.
Yeah.
Nothing bad's happening, but like you said, you can't have the car without the rush. You can't have the ups without downs. You can't enjoy the tens of life without being willing to hit a zero.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, that's what I was... Without adversity, without pain...
you have to.
You can't gain confidence. So if you look at kids that just get everything they want and don't go through any adversity, what's that kid? It's a spoiled brat.
Yeah.
You know, so you need your kids to go through tribulation. Now, God forbid something catastrophic happens. We don't want that, but they need to feel some pain in order to
scrape their knee,
gain.
You know. Yeah.
Right, that's right.
It has to.
Otherwise, they'll just be spoiled brats that get everything they want. And the same is true, again, spiritually for us. It's like, it's easy to be like, why isn't life perfect? You know, but God didn't set out to create robots. He wants a relationship with us. So I'd be remiss in all of this not to touch on my faith a little bit, because that's the biggest content. That's the way I find contentment. To me, it's the only way, because when you're grateful, you can't be bitter. You just can't be. You can't be anxious. You know, I'll have those moments for sure, but when you're actually grateful for what you have, it's a logical contradiction to say you're gratefully bitter. It just doesn't work like that. So we need those things, those bad things in our lives to happen to be able to. There's that ripple effect. Yeah. The way that God works is, if you drop a rock right here, there could be a tsunami on the other end of the earth. It's like the movie Butterfly Effect, you know, with Ashton Kutcher there. So who are we to ever say this is how life should be? There's a quote from a Catholic priest that says, "Give me God's power and I would change everything. No more kids would die, none of that. Give me his wisdom, everything would stay the same. He knows the beginning from the end."
That's tough, man. That's a tough one.
Because we'll go down the philosophy road a little bit. I know we're going long, but we're like we're literally in a movie, as cliche as that sounds, but we're like trapped in each frame, right? And it's like, it's so daunting and tough when we're in that one frame, but God's outside of time. He's outside. He has to be. In order to have created all this, he would have to be outside of time. He'd have to be immaterial. So we're stuck within it. We're within death and time, and we can't see the end of the movie. We can only see what has just preceded it. And even look at the NFL. Like, look at, we're such a week-to-week league. 2 weeks ago, the Chiefs sucked. They limped into the playoffs, and then they manhandled the Dolphins. They took out the Bills last week, and here they are again, and we're like, there they are. That's who we thought they were. Yep. And that's how we are in life. We're just in this moment, and it's so clear what we should have done when we were facing that struggle. And God's sitting here outside of where we're trapped, and he's like, just wait. I got this. I've seen the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And I've seen the whole movie.
It's funny you brought the NFL too, because I've been telling people, I'm like, I have a new phrase, the Jared Goff effect. Because 2 years ago when he got traded, I kid you not, I remember seeing the headline, I was like, they traded him to Detroit to die. Like, he's done.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to go here. He's going to be in the league until they get a good enough draft pick to get the next guy. And he'll be out backing someone up for a couple years, and we'll never hear from him ever again. And I feel like they went like 4-12. Then they went 8-9, just missed the playoffs. And here they are, NFC Championship. He beats the team. Like, imagine how bad you have to feel to get traded from the Rams and then watch them win the Super Bowl the next year for the guy they traded you for. Like, you have to sit there and be like, I'm basically a huge piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like, they validated their decision.
Right.
And to have the wherewithal to, like, just keep going, stay the course. 2 years later, he beats them. Their first playoff win in 32 years, and it's over the team that traded him off. Now he's NFC Championship. I'm like, I bet if somebody went to him 2 years ago was like, just stay the course. I promise I have something better for you. It's gonna suck this year, but just trust me. He probably wouldn't have believed him, but like here he is. He's the man now. Like people are all of America now that the Bills are gone. All of America's like, I want the Lions and Jared Goff to do this. And
he's lost in a Super Bowl before though. So
yes, he has. But I'm sure
might lose.
I'm sure he's playing with house money at this point.
I hope he does well. I love their coach.
I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl.
No. I think it's the Niners. Yeah. Niners Chiefs. Chiefs win.
You think they somehow just do
it? Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Script writers got it down. Or no, they said Baltimore.
Yeah, they did.
Baltimore and the Niners. I saw that.
It's tough to go against Mahomes right now. Yeah. It's just
The guy's built for this. I mean, that's why we started off talking about greatness. I got the picture from you, the picture of Kobe and Jordan sitting there talking. You told me about that picture. I printed it out. It's in my little home gym. And it's like, what are those two guys talking about? What are they like? I just want a window into their minds. Like what do they talk about in that moment? It's probably all the same stuff we've talked about. Kobe's probably being vulnerable with Jordan, and
Kobe's probably like, dude, you ever shit your pants?
Honestly,
he's probably not as profound as we might think.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was probably something simple, but it was just in the details of him advancing his game. Yeah, and that's what this all is. Giant accumulation of details, and little good decisions, just like a haircut. Yeah. Every haircut that we do is one little decision at a time that makes this big picture, the final product. To snap off a clip and go up with a 1 is one decision. The sum of all those little decisions makes a nice cut.
Yeah,
that's all the same stuff we're doing. It's just like the culmination of a zillion, hopefully good decisions, probably a lot of bad decisions, more bad than good.
Yeah.
But that's how we get ahead, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like you guys said, like you said, you know what I mean? But the difference between great and good is just in the details.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, you think about the best quarterback in the NFL and the worst. The difference in skill isn't that great. There's no shot it's that great. What it is, it's drive, it's work ethic, it's mentality, it's someone that's headstrong. That's the margin. Talent they're all on a somewhat level playing field, relatively speaking.
I love asking kids that come to the barbershop that play D3 sports, D1 sports. I'm like, what is the difference between a D3 and a D1 hooper? They're like some athleticism, but like it's the work.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's the work, right? So you can see a Johnny Manziel just fail, just unapologetically fail when he was Heisman, and he was the man.
Had the world,
Yeah. So, no, that's business. There's no exceptions there.
That's business. Well, fellas, I mean, what an episode. Yeah, I don't even know how to put a title on all this, but
I think that's it. I don't know how to put a title on this. That might be it right there.
Yeah, life and who knows what else. But do we have any, I guess, final thoughts that we want to send our listeners off with before we start wrapping up here? Or I don't know if we got through all kind of our points or...
I mean, that was as advertised.
This was good. This was as good or better than I hoped.
It's not just barbering. I mean, it's philosophy. I mean, I was just telling these students this today. There's so much in the realm of barbering. We're therapists. We got to focus on our health, certainly our families. I think that's what we sort of did today,
Yeah, balance, right?
And I think if anyone's taken anything away is that we don't have it all figured out. Don't tell yourself those truths, because I'm right there with you guys in the trenches.
Yeah.
Throwing grenades.
All right, guys. Well,
life and business through a barber lens.
Can't beat it.
Amen.
Signing off.